Okay guys, I got a new battery for this. We're gonna start with the one Ruckus that has been pulled apart, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about changing the fuel tank, getting down to the engine, and we're gonna take a look at our new fuel tanks I bought. I bought them off eBay. No idea if they're any good or not. They're supposedly OEM Honda, new tanks, never broken, never opened. So let's go ahead and open a tank and look at it. Got the camera placed. We're gonna go ahead and get this one box open and see if these are new tanks like they say. I bought two of them since I have the two scooters. So we will see if they are OEM Honda tanks. They have stickers on the side, so I'm hoping I didn't get screwed on them. They do look like new fuel tanks. They're still sealed, they're still in plastic, the tape's still over it. They don't look all screwed up, the output looks good. So we should be good then. So that's what the fuel tank looks like. And you get one new in a box. So we're gonna start pulling this apart to get down to the fuel tank. So, because the filler neck on this one, I could see rust, I didn't like it. So I just said I'm gonna buy new tanks because there are some cheap on eBay. So first things first, I guess what you'd have to do is take this piece off from looking, because it goes up under there, like you can see there. So since this one's already off, we don't have to do that. So take a look at my other videos, and I'll be pulling that one apart. So I'm gonna have to go get probably a 10 mil socket and a screwdriver. So then I could take that screw out there. So then I can pull this top piece off. And then we're also gonna need to take the screws out there to get that off. Looks like I could probably leave the seat on, I think, but I might pull this netting off because it looks about shot anyway. And then I can get this back piece off. Okay guys, it is a 10 mil. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and put this on time lapse, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull them bolts out and see if I can get the plastic plates out. So it looks like this has to come off with this, because it's one piece there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you guys on time lapse and start taking screws out. Okay, so we got this off. We did have to pull a screw out there and a screw out there. And we had a little metal piece that fell out from there. Not a big deal. But now we can actually get down to the fuel tank and see what's going on. And I pulled the seat off too to make it just easier. So now we can get to the carburetor. We can get to the fuel tank and get that off. And we can hopefully get this thing running shortly. So let's see. First thing I noticed though is the coil wire appears to be partially off. Let's get that shoved back on there. That might have been the lady's issue. She said this one, they paid to have the carburetor cleaned, I think, on this one, and they had everything done and it still didn't run right. Might have been why the coil wire was off. So let's pull out the new fuel tank. So we're gonna have to set that down because I'm gonna have to pull the cap off and the sending unit out. Sending unit cap. So I'm gonna go ahead and sit down here and see if we can figure out how to unpop that. I guess that just slides out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and work on removing this fuel tank. First things first, I guess what I need to do is figure out how it's attached. Okay, so it's not really attached. So that's good. So let's go ahead and let's pop the sending unit out. We can look at the new tank here. It is still in a sealed bag. So we got that little arm there. So let's go ahead and pop that arm off. Let's take a little screwdriver and we're just gonna hopefully be able to lift that up like so. We'll set that down for a second. We'll go right here, we'll lift that up. We got that out. So let's go ahead and just disconnect that. And then we got a lock ring. So there is an arrow on the lock ring there to line it up. So let's take that. Let's hopefully just be able to knock it around to the point where it will come out like so. There we go. Lock ring is off. We can pull the sending unit out. We'll let that drip. This smells lovely. I'm gonna try to reuse the O-ring since I don't have a new one. So we're gonna go ahead and just slip that back on top of that. And we're gonna just set this off to the side right now. So that way we can come back to this. And I'll go get my carb cleaner and just spray that down to make sure it's clean. Go ahead and take the fuel cap off. Get that off so you guys can see. I'll clean that up later. We'll lock that. We'll set that off to the side too. We'll stick the key back in there so we don't lose it. Now we're ready. We can go ahead and pull this fuel tank up. I do see a fuel line. Before I disconnect that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a container to catch the fuel in. Okay guys, I'm back. I got a catch pan for my fuel, not a catch pan, but a container to put it in. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and lift this up. I'm gonna reach under the tank. There's a fuel line. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can pull this line off. Put my finger over the hole real quick. And that way I can pull the fuel tank out. Only dribble a little bit of fuel on the thing and would be good. I can set it off to the side and let it drain. And then where I get putting the carburetor back on, back here, I'm gonna go ahead and get the new fuel tank and I'm gonna put that in, hook that up to the line down here and get that situated and throw just a little bit of fuel into the fuel tank. So then I can try to pump it through up to the fuel line here to see if I can flush out the old gas. Sorry guys, I just hooked up the fuel line, dropped the tank down, hooked the front of the tank under this piece, and then it sits on the four there. We're gonna go ahead and get the fuel sending unit, drop that back in, so we can peel this tape off. We're gonna take that and just kind of wiggle that in. And then this gotta go that way. So we're gonna put that there. We need to spin it around here. We put the arrow on the rear, and then we're gonna spin the arrow around to lock it in. Before I do that, we'll make sure that looks like it's sitting right, which it does. Arrow. There's the arrow. Okay. Take the screwdriver. There's a special tool you could probably buy, I guess, and do it, but I don't know. This works very well, I think. You just tap it around in different spots around it. Usually it goes right around. There we go, arrows to arrows. So let's lift this up there and we'll get that sending unit hooked back up under it. Shove that line there. And then this plugs right in here. Just like that. So that's now plugged in there. Alright, so now we just got to put the cap back on. So let me go get, don't burn up the fuel pump because I hear it tick, 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 tick. So I'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, we're back. I'm going to tilt this down a little bit. I did put a bunch of fuel in it. I pulled the fuel line back. We're going to shove it in a container. And we're going to turn it on and just let it pump some fuel through. Just to make sure it's working. There we go, it's pumping. Or it was pumping. Maybe it's got a relay. So there we go. She's pumping now. So it must have a 30-second relay. So we're going to click it a couple times just to make sure. That way we're getting some fresh fuel through it. It looks like we got a bunch of fresh fuel through it. So there we go. We got some fuel pumped through. So that way that should be good. We're going to shove this line back through now. Okay, so that is done. Now I'm going to take, set this down. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to get the fuel cap, put that on to keep the new tank clean. Okay. I got my fuel cap. I went and put a little bit of just spray lubricant on it. Shouldn't hurt the gas at all. So that way it unlocks it, 'cause you got this little tab here. It moves in and out. So that way I can lock it and unlock it. And keep my cap on. We'll go from there. Brake on. There we go. Helps to have the brake on. Gotta hold the brake with this. So let's hold the brake and gotta prime it because the bowl's empty. We're getting fuel up there now, it sounds like. There we go. So we got her running now. She's a little bit off because it's still probably filling up the carburetor, I guess. Still warming. Let's see if we see any fluid leaking down there. I don't see any. So maybe that bowl seal did seal. So, see, we do have headlights. Let's check high and low beams. High and low. That's working. We got a turn. We got a turn. We got a turn. We got a turn. Got a brake light. And the brake light. So, she does seem to be running, guys. So, that's what we had to do to it. So, I'll have to do the same to that one. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide my wrenches out. I'm going to pop it off the center stand. And I'm going to try to take it for a ride there.